Please welcome Judson Althoff, Executive Vice President, Worldwide Commercial Business.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us at Business Forward today and spending the day with us. I personally believe that time is our most valuable commodity, and I'm very thankful for each and every one of you spending the day with us here at Microsoft. I want to use my time with you this morning to talk about digital transformation and the impact of all of the technology that you've seen this morning, how it can actually change your business, and how you can actually harness that technology to think forward about how you capture this wave of digital transformation. I'll then be joined on stage at the end of my talk by CEO and founder Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx, and we're excited to have her on stage. She's completely transformed the garment industry, and so as a thought leader in digital transformation, we're excited to have her here with us. I want to actually start by defining digital transformation, because I think we've said it at least 500 times this morning. I've been counting in the back of the room. I think if I pulled you all aside and I said, tell me what digital transformation means to you, and I kept track of all of it, I'd probably have at least 100 different definitions of the term. And so, just so we're all speaking the same language, digital transformation is a wave of business innovation that's fueled by cloud technologies like augmented reality, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and data. Harnessing the power of data. We've been talking about it all morning, but data is critical to any digital transformation story because a system can only be as intelligent as the data over which it reasons. And if as a foundation you embark upon your digital transformation journey without getting your data estate in order, you'll simply make mistakes with greater confidence than ever before. I'm glad some of you are still awake. So listen, what I mean by that is as follows. Augmented reality, artificial intelligence, all of the wonderful graphs and data and analytics we can put in front of you that are empowered by this great technology, get all of the buzz. They get all of the excitement. Everybody wants to know what you can do with AI to change your business. But if you don't actually first start with the foundation of building a data estate from your on-premise relational constructs to unstructured data in the cloud, you'll not be successful in this digital transformation journey. It's why we've invested so much in the platform in and of itself. And the stories I will share with you this morning, the real-world customer fact-based evidence of companies that are leading the digital wave, you'll see a very consistent fabric here. They're all investing in their data estate as step number one. So what is digital transformation really, and what is it really the impact that it's having on society? We really do believe at Microsoft that it is in fact the fourth industrial revolution. It is not just some technology fad or the latest set of buzzwords that's fueling our industry. It will, in fact, change the way all businesses operate, the way they interact with their customers. It will drive new levels of efficiency, and it will actually transform product sets. And I want to talk to you about how we're actually working with customers today to achieve that. But first, just a little context setting. When you use terms like industrial revolution, I think to have any level of credibility, you actually have to sort of harken back to the industrial revolutions we've already seen and witnessed in society. If you think back to steam, the creation of the steam engine, it was the first time that a person-made device could actually outpace the horse. It changed the way we did commerce. It changed the way we created human relationships and fostered the growth of our economy. The same could be said about the internal combustion engine and the dawn of electricity. And of course, the generation we've all been living in, the dawn of the computing age. If you actually think about the jobs and the roles throughout time and how these industrial revolutions have fed the way we operate as businesses, you think back to the dawn of the second industrial revolution, the age of electricity and the internal combustion engine. There were actually jobs called the VP of electricity. How many of you have a VP of electricity today? Not many. But like in all seriousness, if you read about it, these were super strategic jobs at the time. They were responsible for redefining how companies would operate, how they would change the work day, the work hours of the day, how people would come together and create new products and collaborate. Electricity fueled that generation of growth for our economy. The same thing will happen today. And I'll take us to our first story and first customer example. We've been working with Land O'Lakes. And when I say Land O'Lakes, you say, thank you. So, Judson, how can you digitally transform butter? Well, in all seriousness, Land O'Lakes is in a lot of businesses. They're a co-op that is fueled by farming communities across America. And one of their businesses is providing feed and seed to farmers. Now, when we sat down with them about a year and a half ago and started conceiving their digital journey, we said, well, tell us a little bit more about your business. Tell us about the data about your business and how we might brainstorm together and think forward as to how we might create a new economy for Land O'Lakes. Turns out, through all of their work with these co-op farmers, they have decades worth of satellite imagery of all of the farms that they support. We took that data, loaded it up into an Azure data lake, analyzed the soil propensity for yield. And we could actually get down to a 1 meter by 1 meter square of the dirt potential, the potential to grow crops. From there, we matched that up with hybrid seed data to say, well, okay, what hybrid seeds would grow best in this 1 meter square of dirt? And by the way, how many? How many seeds could we plant in that 1 square meter to get the best yield? Soil treatments, the whole 9 yards. Then we took the data, and I'm not making this up, this is real, I actually did this. You take all of that data and create a prescription and download it into a semi-autonomous driving tractor. And yes, I actually crawled on top of one of these things and drove it around. It's a little scary. But you variably plant the seeds in the field, and the net output, the net impact of this long story I'm telling you, is that you can take an acre of dirt that used to produce about 130 bushels of corn per acre and now produce 500 bushels of corn per acre using this data. It's completely revolutionized Land O'Lakes' business. They have a $13 billion precision agriculture business that has been born of digital transformation. They have new jobs, agronomists that work with farmers to determine the best yield for their farms. And you talk to the farmers, you talk to these people who have worked on these farms for generations. My grandfather worked this farm. If you told me that a computer or artificial intelligence could get more yield out of this piece of dirt that I've been working with my bare hands my whole life, and that my father before me and my grandmother before me, I would have never believed you. Yet it's the reality of today. And I can tell you, if we can digitally transform butter, we can digitally transform your business. So if we think about what's happening today in this room, I'm really excited by the representation of industries we have in this room, and chief executive officers, chief digital officers, CIOs, because the prioritization of what's happening in digital today is top of mind. A recent study was done that suggests that 86% of the world's CEOs believe that becoming a digital company is in fact their #1 priority. That means many of you, many of your superiors, this is top of mind for them, thinking forward to how your business is going to change. How are you going to create and foster new customer relationships or completely actually change your customer engagement journey? How are you going to optimize your operations? How are you better going to empower your employees? And how might you actually use data, artificial intelligence, IoT, augmented reality? How might you use these technologies to completely transform your product lines? So digital transformation is alive and well in all industries. And that's part of the reason why we've crafted the event the way we have today. I'm excited that we have a healthcare track where UPMC and Provident Health are here to tell you about their work in digital transformation. In financial services, we've announced major agreements with Visa, with Geico, with MetLife, and UBS. UBS, in fact, taking their wealth management assets, software assets, putting them on Microsoft's cloud platform to completely transform how they go to market and how they access their customers. The same can be said in retail. You saw a great retail example, and we're going to dive down into retail scenarios later this afternoon with each of you. And in manufacturing and distribution, the opportunities are limitless. We've talked about the connected car, and I'll tell you that we now have digital transformation work going on with BMW, Renault, Nissan, Volvo, Ford, Toyota. Just about every car manufacturer is leveraging Microsoft as their platform for digital transformation. I'm going to take you through some other scenarios that have truly revolutionized the way companies go to market. So what I want to do is I actually want to break down these 4 pillars. We showed you earlier today that digital transformation classically assembles itself into these 4 pillars of engaging with your customers, empowering your employees, optimizing your operations, and transforming your products. So I want to use customer examples to bring each of these to life in hopes to actually inspire you to think through about your digital transformation journey so that we can have engaging discussions this afternoon and beyond on how we might partner together in this regard. So I want to dive into customer engagement. And certainly a lot of the product demos you saw this morning spoke deeply about customer engagement, how we use now relationship selling to deepen our customer relationships. But the story I want to tell you first is about Ecolab. Now, if you were paying attention at the very beginning of the program today, you may have seen a video clip of Christoph Beck, the president of Nalco Water, an Ecolab company, talk about the challenges of fighting water scarcity around the world. But I will tell you that that was not the original product line and the original premise of what Nalco Water used to take to market. Honestly, they sold valves, plumbing, parts for cooling systems, for water management. And you can imagine that their customer relationships were pretty linear. They were with the buyer of this equipment, procurement departments. Not a lot of upside in terms of the breadth of relationships they might craft across their company. And we started working with Ecolab about 2 years ago when they put out an RFP for a CRM system of engagement, and it was a traditional Microsoft go duke it out with Salesforce and made the best solution win. But by more deeply trying to understand what they were after, you sit down with Christoph and you say, what are you really trying to accomplish? And shock, the first words out of Christoph's mouth weren't, I really want a CRM system. I was a little hurt and disappointed. It was, listen, I actually want to change the world and how they think about water consumption. I'm like, Christoph, you sell valves. How are you going to do that? And so he told me a story. He said, listen, that venti mocha you're drinking right now, Judson, take a guess about how many gallons of water it took to make that product. I'm thinking, well, it's about 20 ounces, I don't know, half a gallon. 55,000 gallons of water for one venti Americano. And now, how do you do that math if you think about all of the water it takes to make the crops grow, the harvesting process, the roasting process, all the way down to how that product actually reaches your hands? It's a shocking figure. The water consumption in this world will be outpaced by the human population very quickly. In fact, in about 15 years, we'll have only about 40% of the clean water in the world that the population will need to exist. And so this problem is massive. So how do you take Christoph's CRM RFP and turn it into fighting water scarcity? Well, you have to dive deeply into the business and understand what they sell and, once again, the data assets that they own. We IoT-enabled every product they had. So we could actually understand every bit of data coming off of every water system they made. We fed that data into an Azure data lake. We then used Azure machine learning and created an intelligence fabric that could reason over every piece of data coming off of their systems, what the water consumption was, how to actually reclaim water, reuse water, provide less consumption back to their customers. We then use that to feed their Dynamics 365 systems and their field service applications and their customer service applications so that now their field services people proactively show up to address water utilization that is outside the boundary conditions of what their customers expect. It's completely changed how they sell to their customers. It's completely changed how they service their customers. They now have 11,000 seats of Dynamics 365 deployed that reason over this data. And now instead of selling valves, they sell clean water as a service. It's completely changed their customer engagement. If I switch to employee empowerment, and hopefully you grok that we're after digitally transforming large customers and small customers using the technology ourselves. We talked about how Microsoft uses LinkedIn Sales Navigator internally for our own relationship sales management. We talked about how the same technologies can serve Ecolab's tens of thousands of employees, but we serve customers large and small, and empowering everybody on their journey is important to us. It's core to our mission and our fabric. So the next story I want to tell you is about Madison Square Gardens. And to do that, please join me in welcoming to the stage John Abamonte, who is the Executive Vice President of Madison Square Gardens. John, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So Madison Square Gardens. Now, I have to admit, when I say those words, I think of the arena.
Yes.
But your business is far more than that. So
it is.
Why don't you share with everybody your business?
I mean, most of people know us for the Knicks and the Rangers. Big win last night. And for the world's most famous arena. But we are much more than that. We own and operate a number of buildings throughout the country. Radio City Music Hall, the Rockettes. As well, you may have been to our Christmas Spectacular. We also recently acquired the Tao Group, which owns and operates a number of high-end restaurants and nightclubs. We operate the Forum in LA. So it's a pretty dispersed business with a lot of assets in the live entertainment space. Super cool.
So we talked about digitally transforming butter, and we talked about water scarcity. How's technology changing your business?
Yeah, we're very much in the relationship business, and we create relationships within our building for our business customers. And there's nothing like the power of live events to build those relationships. And so, with that regard, we need to build great relationships with our customers as well. And we really rely on technology, and specifically Microsoft's technology, to help us do that. And to really, it's behind the scenes. Our customers don't see it, but it enables us to build these incredible touch points with our customers.
So if my numbers are right, you have about 150 high-valued relationship sellers that are using Dynamics and LinkedIn Sales Nav together. How does that actually change the way you can interact with your customers? How does it empower your sellers to be more effective at doing their jobs?
Yeah, so our business is a really high touch point business. For example, our suite clients are spending a lot of money with us to have an amazing experience with their clients. And to bring out the power of those live events. And we need to know those customers really well, and we need to be on top of that information. So I want to know who your spouse is. I want to know when your anniversary is. I want to know what your spouse's favorite type of wine is. And that enables a rep to bring that bottle of wine to your suite on that special day. It's all seamless behind the scenes, but it's all powered by the technology.
Cool. So what kind of results have you seen so far?
It's been tremendous. We've been implementing LinkedIn as well to help power our sales force. It's really transformed our business from relying extensively on cold calls to now more relationship-based selling. So we can get those warm introductions. We can get connected with the people that we need to get connected with at the companies we're looking to do business with. And it's just changed the way we go about selling.
One of the things I think is really interesting in that, I was a customer of LinkedIn long before Microsoft acquired LinkedIn. One of the things I recognized with my own sellers is that Sales Nav was actually the first CRM product that I gave them that I didn't actually have to force them to use.
Right.
Every other CRM system, it's like, hey, listen, forecast calls on Friday, load your data into it, because we're going to have a little meeting that we have once a week to see how things are going. But Sales Nav's actually drives it sort of like this fueling of interest of what's going on with your customer because of the news feeds and the excitement around the same. What kind of feedback are you getting from your salespeople about the experience?
We're getting great feedback, and I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues today. But it's really, we're in a fortunate situation with our business in that there's a lot of public interest around it, and we have a lot of great content around our brands. And we're able to use LinkedIn as another platform in addition to our other social media feeds to put that content out there to engage with our customers, to give them the information about our brands that they're looking to see. And then those warm leads come into us. And it's so much easier for the sales team, I would say, when they're sitting down with somebody who's actually interested in the business and wants to engage rather than just making those cold calls.
That's right. And I would say one of the things that I've recognized as a user of all of this, and when you sit on top of a business and you look at a forecast or you look at whether or not there's some predictability in your business, being able to actually dive deeply into the relationship graph, once again, the data about your sellers' relationships with their customers, and then drive sort of propensity models out of the back end analytically as to whether or not those deals are going to close based on those relationships. To me, I think that's totally fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. We rely a lot of that. I talked a lot about our suites business, but we also have thousands of season ticket holders, and so we do a lot of we use a lot of relationship data and do a lot of modeling to determine how likely is this season ticket holder to renew, and then we can intervene and we can get to know that customer a little bit better and try to influence their decision to stay with us.
Right on. So what's next for you, John?
I'm going to a playoff game tomorrow.
Well, go Rangers, man.
Thanks
for being up here.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care. So empowering your sellers is actually one of the best things you can do to drive the bottom line within your company. And we've seen great synergies between LinkedIn Sales Nav and Dynamics 365 and Office 365. And we actually are really pleased with the direction we're headed with our customers. I want to transition to the optimization of operations. And one could argue that this was sort of the original purpose of IT. We created IT to help improve our operations, to digitize the experience. But what we're seeing today is a step change in the efficiencies that we can bring to operational environments due to the connectivity of sensors and sensor fabrics, the voluminous amounts of data that are produced across the same, and the analytic fabric and intelligence fabric we can deliver to really change the shape of business processes. I want to tell you a story of a journey that we've been on with Maersk, because in fact, many of these digital transformation projects are just that. They're journeys. They're not endpoints. There's many steps along the way to start driving these new levels of productivity. So our journey with Maersk started with their container business, and I think Jakob Ingemann is here today and will be a part of our breakout for manufacturing, but he represents the Maersk Container Industries organization. And I'm going to play this video for you to talk a little bit about how they've leveraged Dynamics operations to transform how they build containers for the shipping industry.
At Maersk Container Industry, we operate a 24-hour business across 4 global locations, producing more than 400 containers a day. The whole process demands real-time communication and coordination across a global value chain. Digital transformation for us means greater transparency, deeper understand our risks and costs, and the ability to take more informed, proactive, and data-driven decisions. Dynamics 365 in the cloud allows us to unite the whole company in one system with prompt access to global data anywhere, anytime. We can share information, collaborate, and respond to all business needs in one place. With better forecasting and business intelligence, we can automate processes, reduce errors, and cost our products more accurately. Machine learning and quantum intelligence will allow us to take preventive actions and extend the life value of our customers' investment in goods. We want to take bigger risks, to continually understand what we can do better and capitalize on new opportunities faster. And we are now in a position to do so.
So as I said, it's a journey, and it started with the container at Maersk. But it's actually led us to form a global partnership with the world's largest shipping company. We've now IoT-enabled these containers with varying degrees of sensor capabilities, from commodity shipping of goods all the way through to highly sensitive goods where temperature and humidity inside the container and the total quality of service of delivery is critical to the business itself. The logistics and shipping industry has been plagued by having distorted data and data silos in a non-integrated capacity. We're partnering together with Maersk by bringing their IT assets, their intellectual property, to our public cloud. We have now connected everything from the container to the quality of service and guarantee of delivery mechanisms that they have within their systems, and now make that available for an ecosystem that can provide quality of service guarantees from point A to point B in a cohesive shipping and logistics solution. The power of this for Maersk is incredible. Not only will the solution save them tens of millions of dollars in terms of operational efficiencies, but it's actually allowing them to become a software company. If you watch the video and you see the ports and the large cranes and systems, there's a whole world of companies that have to come together to deliver shipping from left to right with high degrees of quality of service. We have now exposed Maersk's APIs to this ecosystem. So developers of smart ports and smart cities, to the crane manufacturers, we can now marry together these flow of processes like never before, transforming Maersk business, transforming the entire shipping industry. So once again, digital transformation is fueling this accelerated growth of every industry we touch. I want to transition lastly into the transformation of products. And of all of the areas of digital transformation, this is the one that personally excites me the most because it is changing just about every product, from consumer-oriented goods to B2B products. The opportunity to create and innovate has never been what it is today. And if you think about some of the examples that you see in everyday life, how many of you have either ridden in or driven a Tesla or know somebody who owns a Tesla in the room? Okay, so the product is truly a product that learns. It's truly a product that continues to transform based on the data that it ingests. Drivers of Teslas, their cars are different than the car that they bought a year ago, based on how it learns from the sensors that come off the car, how it learns from even the social media data and extracts that exist. They've changed the automotive industry by thinking through product transformation. Rolls-Royce, the example that's on the screen behind me here, has completely changed the way aircraft engines are sold. They don't sell engines anymore. They sell engine hours as a service because they have found that the data about their product is actually more valuable than the product itself. They leverage Dynamics 365 and IoT to proactively dispatch their field service professionals to keep airplanes in the sky because their business model is now no longer about just delivering the product. It's about a guaranteed quality of service and SLA with each and every one of their customers. And the more they can optimize that, the more they can deliver a transformed experience for their customers, the more productive and successful that they're going to be. Just about every industry can be revolutionized through product transformation and through digital transformation and the fueling of data, the data about the product becoming the service that companies can monetize at new levels. So to close this out, though, I'm really excited about bringing to stage not just somebody who has transformed a product, but frankly, somebody who has transformed an entire industry. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. Hi, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. Hello.
To say that your company and your product has had an impact on the industry is an understatement. And I would just love it if you started off by telling everybody about your journey, how you innovated your product, and all of the steps along the way.
Absolutely. Well, I'm far enough along on my journey. It's been 16 years since I started Spanx out of the back of my apartment that I tend to assume most people know what Spanx is now. But looking at this audience, I think I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the actual product. But I invented a undergarment that didn't exist, and it bridged the gap between traditional underwear and a heavy-duty girdle for women in clothes. I'd never taken a business class in my life. I'd never worked in fashion or retail. I am a frustrated consumer that took my frustration and $5,000 of my savings and decided to do something about it. And so what I wanted to do was create the first ever undergarment made out of hosiery material. And the reason why I wanted to use hosiery material is because it was so lightweight and it was second skin, and it allowed women to wear light colors such as white and pink and cream and have an absolutely flawless look in their clothes without seeing any kind of lines or marks. So
I'm suddenly very self-conscious sitting up here.
Yeah. I know. I was like, are you comfortable talking about bras and panties? Because that's what we're going to do. I actually was interviewed by Coach K not long ago from Duke, and he was so uncomfortable. He tried for 40 minutes to interview me without saying the word panty. And finally, I just leaned in, and I'm like, panty, you can say it.
Let's all say it together.
So, panty, okay. Anyway, so it made a big difference, but my journey started just a little bit before that. I graduated from Florida State, and I grew up in Florida. I was selling fax machines door to door for 7 years, cold calling, 100% cold calling. And one day I'd been kicked out of a building again, and someone ripped up my business card in my face, and I literally pulled off the side of that road that one particular day, and I was like, I'm in the wrong movie. Like, this is not my life. What happened? Call the producer, call the director. This is not right. And I went back to my apartment and I wrote down, I assessed what I was good at. And the only thing really in the good column was sales. So I started asking myself, what am I good? Why do I like sales? And I liked providing something to people that they didn't know they needed and then couldn't live without, or just it changed their life. So I wrote in my journal that night, I'm going to invent a product that will help millions of people and make them feel good.
Wow.
And took 2 years. Then I asked the universe for my idea. I said, please present the idea. And 2 years later...
You know, I try that a lot. It doesn't work out quite as well for me.
2 years later, I cut the feet out of my control top pantyhose to wear white pants to a party in Atlanta, Georgia, where I was living. And they just solved everything I wanted as a woman. They made me look great, but they rolled up my legs all night. And so I decided to make it. I wasn't going to squander any idea that the universe presented, and went on the internet, started looking up hosiery and manufacturers of undergarments, which were all in North Carolina. I called them on the phone and got no's mostly, but then took a week off work and drove around North Carolina and went in person, and that sent me on the journey of making the product. And when I first started this, I really just wanted this one undergarment, mainly for myself, but I also thought it was gonna fill a need for so many women in how we got dressed. And then when I stood on the floor of these manufacturers in North Carolina, there weren't a lot of women. I wasn't talking to any women, you know? And so I realized that by watching the way they were doing things, they were sizing things on plastic forms and not real women, and standing back with the clipboard and going, yep, that's a medium, you know, and I'd lean in and go, ask her how she feels. You know, and then the industry was taking the average waistband and putting on the same product from small to large, and so I was like, wait, we're really uncomfortable. So I'm doing this many years later beyond the first invention because I really wanted to become an advocate for women in an industry that really wasn't paying attention to how we felt in the garments. And it was an unlikely success story. I had $5,000 and no contacts or anything, but I wanted to see what could happen if I cared the most.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. So we have in the room about 350 senior leaders from healthcare, financial services, retail, manufacturing. We're talking a lot about digital transformation and how you can use technology to create new ideas, to transform your business. Maybe can you talk a little bit about how technology matters to your business, as well as advice that you have for, you know, how do you get that idea from the universe? How do you transform your business?
Yeah, sure. So in regards to technology, I mean, I will say we're using all Microsoft operating systems and infrastructure in our business, and we really appreciate that. And the technology that's made the most difference for me and my business is PLM, which is a product management system for us, and also Blue Cherry, which is order management and inventory management. So I'm always telling my IT department and my head of IT just what can we introduce and where do I need to spend money on efficiency and also serving the customer better, which I'm sure every business owner thinks about and talks about. But you know, my head of IT, I don't ask him too much about his world, and he doesn't ask me too much about bras, making the bras and panties. But that is, I would say, what technology has meant the most for me inside of Spanx. we also just introduced, and I spent quite a bit of money on a digitized like asset system, so that all of anything that we ever have in digital format, everyone in the organization can find very quickly. Really liking that. And social media. I mean, when I first started Spanx, there was no internet. I mean, there was internet. There was no social media, you know, and so much has changed. And so I didn't have money to advertise, so I was the face of my own brand. And I would go out and I cold called Neiman Sachs, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, and got in those department stores around the country and would go and stand for 8 to 9 hours a day, flashing every woman that walked into the store my product and showing her my rear end and saying, this is what it can do. And, you know, and so now it's so different. And so figuring out how to communicate directly with your customers. Everything with Spanx has always been very authentic. I started speaking to a customer in a way when I first started that was a little unusual. I used a lot of humor. I'm a big believer in humor, and I learned that when I sold fax machines door to door. I mean, getting doors slammed in your face over and over again. If you can make somebody laugh or smile, they usually give you another 30 seconds. So I really liked using that approach with Spanx, and the social media now is really where a lot of our focus is, and then of course our website and how to communicate and create the world's best experience for our customers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So earlier I told a story about digitally transforming butter. Sarah has digitally transformed bras and panties. There, I said them. Both. So I think it's safe to say we can transform just about any industry if we apply the technology to the business impact that we're trying to achieve. You know, we talk a lot about empowerment at Microsoft because for us, success is less about creating great products or hitting some revenue figures, and more about what we can actually do for our customers in terms of empowerment. I know empowerment's important to you.
It is.
Maybe you could share your thoughts.
I will, but I'd love to just jump back something you said remind me. And as far as disrupting and creating a new product or breaking into a new industry, I like to point out at how little of a change you can make to fill unbelievable white space. I mean, pantyhose had been around forever, and all I did was cut the feet out of it. So, and it just took off. So, you know, seeing something in its simple form, and what happened was this industry had been looking at something only one way for a really long time. Hosiery was meant to be seen on the leg. So I show up with my lucky red backpack, you know, and an idea, and told them I want it to be under the clothes. I don't want it to be seen. And it was so confusing for them. They were like, well, wait, hosiery's meant to be seen. And so I always say, you know, in life, we're on autopilot. Like, we're all doing things the way someone showed us how to do it, we were taught how to do it, or we observed how to do it. So I always like to do this mental exercise, and I ask the people on my team to do it still too. I say, close your eyes and just ask yourself, if I didn't know how to do my job, how would I be doing my job? And like, just sit in that space, see what surfaces, or how could this be better, whatever it is that I'm experiencing or how I'm going about something. And the answers are usually really where you need to focus.
Super cool.
Yeah.
That is great advice.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, really, if you think about how, and real change happens when you're not going to do something the way everyone else is doing it. I mean, that's where the real spark of making a difference is.
Awesome. How about empowerment?
Yeah, empowerment. Well, you know, the culture of Spanx has always been steeped in a purpose much greater than making women's butts look better. And I really, although that's really important, I feel like it's really important to be working for something much greater than yourself. And for me, it's been women. And I have felt this way very deeply myself. I feel very lucky to be a woman born in the right country at the right time. I had very little to do with that. I understand that. And so I was very inspired to take advantage of this opportunity that I felt I had and make the absolute most of it, and then hope that my journey would inspire and encourage other women to feel, you know, the same inspiration to do it. but I also am taking the means. I've been setting aside profits since the beginning of Spanx and giving back to empower women, and mainly through education and entrepreneurship. So that's been an important part of the culture at Spanx, which I think is really important. I always say it's really important to focus on the why and not just the how. And I've been storytelling since the very beginning of Spanx. I feel that storytelling is very powerful with your customers. Tell them the why. Focus on the why. You know, I always say sell the problem you're solving, not the product. And so that's what I led with, and I continue to want to empower women. I personally just feel that the male and female energy on the planet's been out of balance for about 3,000 years.
I think that's probably fair.
And so I'm not thinking one or the other should be dominant. I really am in search for balance, and I think the world would be a much better place when we are in more balance that way. And I like to say energy because we all have male and female energy in us. It's not even just a gender thing, but I think the feminine on the planet has really sort of been squashed, and I feel that it's starting to rise a little bit more, and I think we'll all benefit from that.
So you've had personal investment and empowerment, and it's really clear how that exudes from you. How have you leveraged that across your employee base to really build that culture? I think we get asked at Microsoft a lot about our culture from people that are trying to transform their businesses, and how do you actually really build that from within? How have you taken your personal passion for empowerment and what it means to create great products for women, to make them feel better about themselves, and how do you build that from the bottom up within the company?
Well, you know, I have many patents. So Spanx didn't, you know, I invented my first product that got my foot in the door, so to speak. But then, you know, Spanx kind of became the category because of the multiple patents after that. So part of the culture and creating purpose also, I work at a company that's an innovator and not an imitator. And I think that that's also really helpful for everybody to feel inspired by, you know, let's generate things that don't already exist. Let's make things better for women and their experience for women. And I have little things like I have a philanthropy board inside of the organization, and it rotates, and different employees are put on the philanthropy board, and I give them a portion of profits each year to determine where they want the money to go, as long as it falls in the greater vision of our, you know, elevating women. So that's been really a huge team building experience. I'm a believer of, you know, they've helped me make the money, so I want them to help me give it back. It doesn't feel right for me to just be writing checks or whatnot. So as much as I can incorporate them in that experience, I do.
Great.
Yeah. And I joined the Giving Pledge with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. So yeah, I joined a couple years ago, which was so cool because not long ago I was making $40,000 a year selling fax machines. So the idea that someone like Bill Gates would even call me and say, do you want to give half your money away, you know, to help the world was an awesome call. Any
final advice you'd have for our audience?
Let's see. Well, that's a big question. You know, when I was growing up, my father used to encourage me to fail. So I would sit at the dinner table and he would ask my brother and me, what did you fail at this week? And if we didn't have something to tell him, he'd actually be disappointed. So I can remember coming home and saying, Dad, I tried out for this and I was horrible. And he'd high-five me and go, way to go! And what he was doing was reframing my definition of failure. So failure became for me not trying versus the outcome. So I would say really some advice is, you know, I got the luxury of my dad instilling that in me since I was little, but I'm always trying to take away the fear of failure and tell my team always that oops are far better than regret or, you know, not trying something. And differentiating yourself is really important. Advice I would say, anything I do, I'm always like, how am I different? Why am I different? Is it easy to explain? Can I do it in a minute or less? And not only why are you different, but then taking it a step further and then saying, and why it's relevant to the consumer. I think a lot of people take time saying, this is why I'm so different, but if you don't link it to like, and this is how it's gonna impact you or your life, you miss that point. So I've been really fixated on have fun, don't take yourselves too seriously. I mean, really, and I think that humor
Super insightful.
goes a long way. And using it with your culture too can make, people
Awesome.
want to work harder when they're having fun.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
And I'm
Thank
proud of you
being
for
here.
saying it, Hanny. Thank you.
So I want to bring our general session to a close and move us on to our luncheon and the afternoon sessions. But the final words I want to leave with you are that no two digital transformations are alike. And digital transformation is, in fact, a journey. At Microsoft, we'd be humbled to be a part of your journey, to be a partner in your journey, because it really is at our core and our mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. We'd love to be a part of your envisioning for how you dream forward your digital transformation. We'd love to partner with you on actually how you build it and get it done and work with you along every step of the way. And if our business models align, actually partner in a go-to-market strategy with you in your industry. We'd be thrilled to work with you in this regard. So thank you once again for your time and your energy and your passion. Thanks.